So it's June, and I can't believe it. Halfway through the year already. It genuinely doesn't feel like it's been that long since the beginning of the year, but it is. And here is my June crafting diary. So I'm going to start off with my old journal for the first bit, because there are two things which I had made before the end of last month that I didn't finish until this month. So this will be the last time we're going to see this one, and then it will go away for good. So this was going to be a granny square blanket, but as I was making it, I realised that I had enough yarn to make it big enough for a cocoon cardigan type thing. So I basically just made a square and then sewed it together to form the arms of the cardigan. It is a little bit short in the arms for my taste, so I think at some point in the future I will add sort of a cuff to it to make it a little bit longer, but perfectly serviceable otherwise. So I'm quite happy with how that's turned out. And the other thing is the cover for the current journal. This went a lot faster than the one for this one because I doubled up the yarns and I used a much bigger needle, so I got that done quite quickly, and it sat on my desk waiting for when that one's finished, and I'm very happy with how it turned out, so I'll be using that method probably for the rest of the ones that I make. And so on to the current journal, which I've managed to get some drink or something on, but it's not the end of the world. I really like this cover. It's hollow foil, absolutely gorgeous. I don't think the camera does it justice, to be honest, but there we go. So for June, the first thing that I started, and I haven't finished it yet, I am still working on it at the moment, is the lacy bolero. It is nearly finished. I have one sleeve left to do. The only thing is I managed to make one of the sleeve holes a little bit smaller than the other because I miscounted on one of them. I think the second one I did too many rows on, but it's small enough number that it shouldn't matter too much in the grand scheme of things. So hopefully I'll get that finished in the next couple of weeks, but it's tough going just because of the way that that it's made, but it will be done and I will be able to wear it at some point in the near future. Then I made this tiny little pullover, which is currently living on a toy goose, which I'll show here. Basically with the bolero, I'll go into this in more detail when I've actually finished it, but basically I hate sewing things up once I've knitted or crocheted them, so I will always try and find a way to join things as I go, and this was just a tester to see if I could join the sides as they go, because I started the bolero at the back and then knit up the back and then down the front, and apart from the armholes, my idea was to sort of knit together the last stitch of the row I'm working on with the end stitch from the corresponding row on the back of the bolero, and it worked. So I only needed to do a few rows. It was just a teeny tiny pullover. I don't have anything else small enough for it to fit on, so it went on my goose. Then I made this hair comb, hair bow on a comb, because the Friday, I think it was the 18th, was the Friday? No, the 16th. I can't remember. The Men's Health Week on the Friday, the idea was to wear blue in support of men's health. And I don't tend to wear blue not as a rule, but in general, I don't actually have any blue clothes. I wanted to wear something to mark the day, and I had this lovely blue cotton yarn, so I made up a little bow with a comb on it. I actually changed my mind and made a different bow, which you will see as we go, but because I'd made that, my friend Eva saw it, and she wanted a red one because there's a character who wears a red bow in their hair. It's from an anime. I'm not an anime watcher, so I can't remember which one it is. I can see the person in my head, the animated character, but I genuinely can't remember it. I think it's something Studio Ghibli, I think. And I've deactivated my Twitter, so I can't actually see the conversation where she said what the name of the character was, but if you recognise this and you watch anime, you probably will know which character she was thinking of when she asked for the red bow. So apologies, Eva, I'm not as big of a weeb as a lot of my friends. Then I made 2 tester pumpkin capes, which seem a little bit weird, but basically one of my colleagues, May, she has a housemate who has a gecko called Fernando, and she, the friend of my colleague this is, wanted to have a pumpkin cape for her gecko. She'd seen a picture of one online, so I had a reference to go by. I couldn't find a pattern or anything anywhere to buy, but I had a little go at making these ones just to see how big they go and what sort of gauge I want to use, while I was waiting for my colleague to get the measurements of the gecko so that I didn't make something that was too small for him and that might be dangerous. And it did come with a disclaimer of don't leave it on him. It's a put it on, take some pictures and then take it back off again kind of outfit, because obviously I don't want poor Fernando to come to a cropper because of a little pumpkin cape. Then I made this bow, and this is the one I actually wore on the Friday of Men's Health Week. Then I had the measurements for Fernando and I made him his actual cape. I did make the neck hole a tad bigger than I needed to, but purely just because I didn't want to be too tight for him or feel uncomfortable on him in any way. And I've not seen any photos of him wearing it, but I hope that he has enjoyed it and that my colleague's friend likes it as well. Then I made this crochet bandana for one of my colleagues. It was her birthday and she wears crochet bandanas, or a crochet bandana I've seen her wear. So I knew she would like it, and she did. Well, she said she liked it and she put it on, so I assume she did. This is made with the I Am Groot yarn from Soggy Kookaburra, and using a 4.5mm hook. It was really easy to do, and I really like the picot edges as well. They were quite easy. It didn't take me very long. It only took me one evening to make it, so I will definitely consider using this pattern again if I want to make a similar sort of thing for someone in the future. And then in the same yarn, I made a sock, which is part of my odd sock collection. Same pattern as normal. I didn't make any major changes except the cuff. Instead of doing a knit 1 purl 1, I did knit 2 purl 2. Then I made this guinea pig. So this is, it looks a little bit ratty, or like a tailless rat, because this was just to test the pattern to see how it worked up, if I needed to make any changes to it or if there are any issues that I had with it. Because another colleague of mine, Elle, has 2 guinea pigs called Reggie and Rolo, who she wanted crocheted versions of for her desk at work, so she's got them with her even when she's not working from home. The ears weren't quite right how I did them, and I think I ended up using 2 different sized eyes. But it was just a tester, it basically, I mean, I could have just not put the eyes or the nose on or the ears and just made the body and the head. But I wanted to sort of finish it off, so I had a little something. I've given it to my husband. It's sitting on his desk now, so it keeps him company while he's working. Then I made Reggie. He is white, brown and ginger, and the colours didn't quite go how I wanted them to. Like, as you can see in this picture, sort of, there's a bit of ginger here. I wanted it to come further round, but the way that I worked out the colour blocking on the pattern, I didn't take into account it's going all the way round and not just like the top layer of the guinea pig. But Elle really liked it. She said it looks just like him, so she's happy enough. And then I made Rolo. He is fluffy, like he's got like Rod Stewart hair, like fluffy on top and sticks out all over the place. So I tried to replicate that by adding some strands on the top and sort of fluffing them out a little bit. It didn't quite go exactly how I wanted it to, but I don't think I would be able to make it look exactly like him anyway. But like I said, Elle really, really happy with it. The colour working on this one ended up a lot better than the other one, so I am happy with that. And yeah, they have pride of place on her desk, and yeah, they keep her company when she's in the office with us. And then I have started a sock in the colour Aegir. I want to pronounce it that way. I'm not sure if that is. I apologise if I'm saying it wrong. Again, it's a soggy kookaburra sock yarn. I seem to only buy yarn from her at the moment, but she does good yarn. It's lovely, and she's a lovely person as well. So if you're wanting to buy some sock yarn, please have a look on her Etsy. I will provide a link to that in the description, so if you do want to go and have a look, you can do. And that's it for the month. I realised that I did miss something out. So there was something that I started in May and finished in June, which was this triangle shawl. It is a little bit too small because I didn't have enough yarn to make it any bigger than I made it. It does go around my shoulders, but it's not got a lot of coverage, so it will probably just end up being a scarf for the winter. But at some point in the next few weeks I might make a video on how to make these shawls, because I've worked out a way of making it a 1 row repeat, because most of the, like, these kind of shawls, when you see them, they are a 2 row repeat. And the trouble I have with those is that sometimes if I put the work down and then pick it up again, I forget which row I was on before, and I find it difficult to tell which one I was on, and then end up fluffing it up and it doesn't quite look right. So I figured out a way to make it a 1 row repeat. So I might make a video on that at some point in the future. It's an absolutely fantastic pattern as well if you've made one similar to this before, because it suits any yarn and any needles depending on what you want it for. If you want it to be light and airy for something in the summer, or if you want a nice thick shawl to keep you warm in the winter, you know, whichever it is, it's a really good pattern. So if I find the time, I may make a video on that at some point in the future. Well, thank you for joining me. If you have any questions, if you have any ideas for me to use up the multitudes of yarn that I have hanging around in my house, please do let me know in the comments or send me a message on Instagram. If you'd like to commission me for anything, again, Instagram DMs is the best place to do that. And if you want to buy anything off my Etsy, there is a link in the description below. Thank you for joining me.